as I said, it's a really, really special morning. We take time once a year to have Vision Sunday. And the point of this is to pause, to look back on the previous year, to see how God has provided, to give thanks, to look at our church finances, to share about that, and then also look to the year ahead. And Abby and I and our family have been here for exactly 3 years, pretty much, which is quite remarkable. And 2 out of those 3 years have been in the pandemic. Can you actually believe that? 2 out of those 3 years have been in the pandemic. And just to give a quick shout out to anyone who's going to be watching this, it's being recorded, and we know there's quite a few people who couldn't make it this morning. We had a message from someone on Teams saying that they just tested positive for COVID. We've had someone else being taken to hospital. So we can be praying for all the different needs in our church family at the moment. So we recognize some people are going to be watching this afterwards, but we're so thankful for every single one of you who've been able to make it this morning as well. So as I said, we're going to split it into looking back, looking at our finances, and then the year ahead. But the thing that will mark all of this is that God has been so faithful. In the midst of unimaginable challenges for so many of us, we have known God in our church family to be faithful and even more faithful. We've experienced his faithfulness. In Psalm 100, chapter 127, verse 1 is a really precious verse for our church, because it says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain." Jesus said he will build his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And Jesus is building his church in this place. And it is our absolute honor to give the little that we have and see him take it so much further in his kingdom. So thank you for partnering with God this year in this church family. You've been faithful, and God has been faithful. We've experienced the love of Jesus in providing, sustaining, and guiding us over this last year. And just to give a bit of a snapshot, being part of the Vineyard family of churches is such an honor and a gift to us. We're part of a bigger story. Here in Scotland, 5 to 10 years ago, there was only a few Vineyard churches. Now, there are Vineyard churches in Inverness, in Inverclyde, in Ellen, in Aberdeen, in Stonehaven, in Lawrence Kirk, in St Andrews, in Falkirk, in Stirling, in Kirkcaldy, in Edinburgh, in Cumbernauld, in East Kilbride, in Glasgow, and here in Invaclide. Just in the last month, Discovery Vineyard Church in Dundee has been started. And today, this very day, Catalyst Vineyard Church in Peterhead is launching. We're part of this bigger story. And, tucked away on the west coast of Scotland, we might forget that. And we can be focused on what God is doing here, but also we can be reminded that we're part of a bigger story of what God is doing all throughout Scotland, of faithful people like you stepping out in simple ways to follow him, to lead people to know Jesus, to be faithful, to love Jesus and to love each other. So we're so excited to be part of this bigger story in the Vineyard. And our vision here is to be a multiplying and compassionate church where people meet with Jesus in life-changing ways. And through the pandemic, we've seen this vision break through into the here and now in so many ways. And this morning, I'm going to highlight 3 key areas over the last year where we've seen this happen. So in the first instance, last year, we built community. So most of the year, we were online, But we still managed to build community in really meaningful ways. We had church at home online on Sundays with worship and teaching. We had some sweet times of worship and growing in relationship with Jesus, even though we were scattered in our different homes. And we've so valued the input from the wider Vineyard movement with worship and teaching that we could use for our online content, as well as people in our own church family. We've hugely appreciated that. And at the start of the year, we provided some conference packs with a notepad and pen and treats for those in church who are going to be tuning in to the Vineyard National Gathering, which was online. And this wider Vineyard movement has been brilliant at resourcing and equipping us as a local church. And just to give a quick heads up, later on this year, all being well, in October, the Scottish clan of Vineyard is planning to gather churches together and have a time of worship and teaching across 2 days in Aberdeen. That's going to be in October, and we'd love to see as many of us as possible head along to that. And that's a great opportunity for us to plug into. We built community through our Connect groups, which have been running online at first, with some in person later on in the last year. Connect groups have been times for us to journey together, to encourage each other, to help each other to follow Jesus. We had a total of 9 groups across the 3 terms, with around 30 adults involved in these groups. And these have been such a vital heartbeat to our church, to keep us on course, to keep encouraging one another and pointing each other towards Jesus. And to name a few groups, we had a men's group and a women's group, which was online, and these were fantastic times to deepen those relationships and spur one another on. In the men's group, I remember brilliant times where we were going through men of the Bible and looking at how they can inspire us in our journey. And each week there'd be an opportunity for one of the guys to share some of their story, so that we could get to know each other, and then we'd pray for each other. And those were really special times together. And the women's group, I'm told, I didn't experience it, as you would have guessed, but I'm told that they had some really sweet times together, going through the book of Ruth, where the Holy Spirit was at work, having space to be honest and real with each other. One of our Connect groups did the prayer course part 2, watching video sessions week by week, discussing and praying. And this group was grappling with some tough questions on unanswered prayer and suffering, and what to do when it seems like God is silent. One person said it helped them to understand and connect with people they wouldn't ordinarily have met with. Another person said they got to meet and make new friends, and also felt free to open up and take part. Then as restrictions eased, we could start some more in-person activities as well. So we had a couple of walking Connect groups. One was a slightly slower pace, and one was a power walking group where they put their foot to it and got active. And I heard that was a great opportunity to get fit, but also to build community and get to know each other and encourage one another. We had an Around the Fire Connect group where we started up the fire, opened up the Bible, prayed together and worshipped. And again, we had some sweet times together, worshiping Jesus, singing simple songs to him, inviting his Holy Spirit to come out in the open air. It was absolutely fantastic. In building community, we also loved having a couple of welcome evenings over the last year. The heart behind these is to provide space for people who are new or exploring our church to come and find out more, to meet Abby and I, and where we can share a bit more about the vision and the values of our church. And those were absolutely fantastic times. And our heart is that they provide an on-ramp to our church. We want our church to be as accessible as possible for new people to join. So we love that welcome evenings are a point where we can just open our doors and just remind people, hey, if you want to come and find out a bit more, hear about what we're up to, come and get plugged in. As part of our Connect groups, we also were able to run both the pre-marriage course and the marriage course online. And for the pre-marriage course, we had 4 couples journeying through 5 weeks of pre-marriage preparation. There was one couple who came along who weren't part of our church, but they'd been invited by a family member. And they got so much out of this course as they spent that time together. All the feedback collected afterwards was that this course had a very positive impact on each couple's relationships. And you'll know one of those couples. One of them was Dom and Natasha, who are part of our church family, and I had the absolute honor of going on to marry them this last summer and journey with them through that. Investing in people's lives and building community, seeing lives changed by Jesus, is something that takes time. It takes our investment. And I love that this is a church family who's willing to put in that time. We're a church family that is willing to journey with people, to pray with people, to reach out, to build that community. And although we're so young as a church still, we're already seeing the fruit from the community that is being built in this place. So over the last year, we built community. Secondly, last year, we reached out with compassion. It's been another tough year of the pandemic, hasn't it? With so many ups and downs. And being parents, me and Abby know the additional strain that so many families have experienced through the pandemic, and all that's been involved with the lack of accessibility for so much to do with childcare, schooling having to be done at home, groups in the community that have been cancelled or really restricted in numbers. And so around Easter time, what we wanted to do is we wanted to do something that would be a fun event that would bless our local area through an Easter challenge. And so what we did is in Guruk Bunny Park, we teamed up with the Invaclide Shed, who are a local organization who support people with improving their mental and physical health. And they made us 10 wooden carved creations. And then Derek made a map for us, and we put these 10 items around the park. We put the map online, and we said, go and find all the 10 items and then submit the answers to us, and then you'll be in for a chance of winning an Easter prize. And through that, we had over 300 people from the community come and take part in that. We saw kids running around the park with wet, soggy maps, with red faces. We saw parents trying to keep up with them. We met new faces, we met old faces. It was a really, really precious opportunity to meet those people and for them to come out and take part. The council were incredibly supportive of us doing this. And the park warden, Heather, was so thankful that we put on this for families and people in our local area. Some of the feedback comments we got sent in from different people said this. One person said, this was a great community event in a really tricky time to occupy wee ones. Thank you to all involved. Someone else wrote saying, thank you, this was very enjoyable during hard times with my granddaughter. God bless. Happy Easter. And then someone else said, thank you so much for organizing this fun and family-friendly event. Really appreciate it. How encouraging is that? Then we followed this up with a summer challenge where we did a similar trail in the park. And again, we had a huge number of people from the local community come out and get involved. One person wrote and said, it was a great daddy and daughter time to finish off the holidays. Thanks for all your work to make it happen. And then, off the back of that, a local school got in touch with us and said they'd seen the trails that we'd done, and could we do a trail for them for Maths Week? And so we did a Maths Challenge trail during Maths Week Scotland, and we pulled that together, and there were teachers with whole classes of students going around the park, finding all these items, and then submitting the answers. This was such a fun activity that genuinely blessed the local community. And the amazing thing is is that some of the people who took part in the Easter, the summer, and the Maths Challenge have continued to remain in touch right from 2019, when, for those of us who are around then, you might remember we did an Easter egg hunt in the park back in 2019. And they might not have appeared on a Sunday morning yet, but we're on a journey with them as a church. They came then, they've stayed in touch, they did the Easter challenge, the summer challenge, maybe even the Maths challenge. And we're continuing to build these relationships over the long haul. And our prayer is that in 2022, we're able to continue to connect with these hundreds of people we've been in touch with, many who don't know Jesus, and we're able to share more of Jesus with them. So we're building there, which is so encouraging. We've reached out in compassion through supporting the Invaclide food bank. As I mentioned earlier, we've started to collect items on a Sunday morning to go out to them. And we were able to support them in a small way financially at a time when they were under immense pressure from additional demand for food items. We also supported the brilliant work of Kidron Project, run by our very own Colin and Ma. Yeah, give them a wee woo. And we were able to make a donation to help this charity in its work locally as they address poverty, isolation, and as they give people valuable life skills here in Inverclyde. Then in the run-up to Christmas, we had an incredible response from people in our church family to support Women's Aid Invaclide. And we were able to provide stunning gifts and hampers for 43 children and 20 women being supported by Invaclide Women's Aid, which you all beautifully prepared. It was after one Sunday service, and we moved the tables, we got out the wrapping paper, the Christmas cards, everyone got stuck in. It was so much fun. You know, everyone gets to play. Everyone has something to bring as we serve and love the local community that we've been placed in. And we received a letter from Women's Aid saying this: on behalf of Invaclide Women's Aid, we would like to thank you for your generous donation of gifts received. The kindness you have shown will greatly support the work that we do to help women, children, and young people affected by domestic abuse. Isn't that amazing? That Harvey Church, in a way like that, can provide these gifts for people who are going through such a hard time. That we all got together, gave gifts, wrapped things up, got involved, and got to do that. And we prayed over those presents. We don't know the names of the children or the woman that they were going to, but God knows. God knows every single name, and it was worth it. And we continue to pray for those people, those children and women, that God would break into their lives. So thank you, everyone, that you've reached out in compassion over this last year. We also had a compassionate heart for global mission. You might not be aware that monthly we support the fantastic work of Kids Club Kampala, who bring hope to vulnerable children and families in Uganda. And a while ago, during one Church at Home, I had a conversation with Corrie Fraser that was recorded and put online. She's one of the UK directors of Kids Club, and she shared more about the work they do in sharing Jesus and bringing such a practical support to so many people in Kampala and beyond. So if you want to find out more about that, head to our YouTube channel and you can listen in or you can watch that. So we built community. We've reached out in compassion. And then finally, for 2021, we've had a heart of worship. We've had a heart of worship, and this is so precious. Really what we're doing is all for Jesus. It's all about him. It's all because of what he's done for us, and that our lives have been changed by him, and we want to see other lives changed by him. It's in worship of Jesus. And as we began transitioning to more in-person gatherings through the year, we've had 3 worship evenings which have provided space to meet with God, to lift our eyes, and to receive from him. During the summer, On 3 occasions, we did church in the park, which was absolutely fantastic. We set up our speakers at the Gurrick Park bandstand, and we did a kids' song. We had a time of worship. We opened up the Bible. We shared. And again, we saw both new faces and people from our church community who are coming back through the pandemic. And those were brilliant times of worship and regathering together. Our previous Sunday venue through the pandemic has not been available at Broomhill Hub. And so we've been praying about where we could meet. And God was leading us elsewhere. We knew that even if we could have got back into that venue, we knew that God was opening up new opportunities. And so in September, we began meeting here in this room in Greenock Sports Centre, which has been such a great space to get us kick-started again in person. And we're loving the sweetness of God's presence as we gather together, that people are able to pray out, that we're able to share in communion and meet with God as well as each other. And we know that the Lord has just begun with this, that there's a deeper work to be done as we continue to gather together. And we've been absolutely blown away this last year as people have stepped into volunteering roles throughout the last year through connect groups, church in the park, worship evenings, launching Sunday mornings here at the Sports Centre. It's taken a huge effort, and we are so thankful for all your support in that. And you may be looking around on a Sunday, recognizing that there is people missing. Some people in our church have let us know that at the moment during COVID, they don't feel comfortable coming out in person. That's why it's so important that we put as much recorded content online so that they can still connect in, and our connect groups throughout the week as well. Other people in our church family in the pandemic have moved out of Invaclide. We've had families who got us called elsewhere. They've moved away because of jobs or because of studies. Some people have moved away. And yet, there are still so many people who are waiting in this area to hear about Jesus. They're ready and waiting to hear the message we have about Jesus. And each of us in this room can play our part in taking that message to them, to sharing about Jesus and inviting them in. So what an amazing position we're in. What an amazing opportunity we have to reach out in this next year. It's a fantastic opportunity. And in many ways, we're replanting as a church in this season. As I said, Abby and I had only been here for 1 year before the pandemic kicked in. We've had 2 years in the pandemic. And here, gathering together, we're sitting in masks. We still have such a long way to go out of this pandemic. But bit by bit, we're moving in the right direction. And we have an amazing opportunity as a church to continue to grow and build community, to reach out in compassion, to worship Jesus. We've only just begun. So thank you so much for partnering and joining with us in this church family. So, I'm just glancing over my notes to see if there's anything I've missed there. I'm keeping an eye on time. How can it be that time already? Wow. Right, I'm going to scoot on then. So, next part of our morning, we're going to look at our church finances. And we share our finances freely as a church. We know that some of you have asked or have been surprised that we take one morning a year to share everything, to look back, to look ahead, and to share our finances. This is part of our DNA. It's part of what we've done in the church that we've come from. And we think it's incredibly important to share, to praise God for how he's provided, and to share any need that we've had. So just a couple of notes. We're part of the Vineyard movement, which is a fantastic regional and national support with guidance, advice, and relationships with other churches. Secondly, and this is really important, we are totally self-funded as a church, and only Abby and myself and our trustees know who is giving what. So people do often ask if our church gets financial support centrally from the Vineyard, and the answer is no, we don't. When we first started, we received some seed money from our sending church to help get us started, but that was a one-off gift. And all of our ongoing income is from within our church family. This is why our financial giving is so important. Then also, we're a registered charity in Scotland, and our finances are overseen by a registered accountant and our trustees. Our trustees are Simon Glazier, Jude McBean, and myself. Simon and Jude are from our sending church, Catalyst in Aberdeen, and they are such a blessing behind the scenes in providing support with the legal and the financial side of running the church. So we're really, really grateful to them. Right, so we're going to be looking at our income to start with for last financial year, from January 21 to January 2022. So we received a total regular giving of £13,406. We received one-off gifts of £4,888 and gift aid of £3,338. So in total, that's £21,632, which is an incredible amount for a church of our size. So thank you so much for all your giving in that. God sees it all, and he's delighted with our generosity. So thank you. And then for our expenditure in local and global mission, we gave away £2,212. So we're committed to give away at least 10% of our income to local and global mission. And this includes a 5% contribution back to the Vineyard movement to resource further church planting, training, and events. We spent £2,598 on licenses and memberships. So that's insurance, the licenses for copyright for the words, and other essential admin costs for running the church. In ministry, we spent £10,725. So that's staffing and costs for carrying out the ministry of Inverclyde Vineyard Church. So I'm employed 2 days per week by church, and then Abby's also employed for half a day, carrying out essential admin and pastoral work. Then in building and worship costs, we spent £1,800. So that's for things like venue rental for Sundays, for worship evenings over the last year, and for the cost of equipment for our gatherings. Then for church life, we spent £561. So that's for things like Connect Group resources, Bibles, welcome table resources, storage of our equipment, all of those sorts of things. And then for community life, we spent £1,051. So that was our outreach into the local community. For example, the trails that we did, the different events we've had in serving the local community around us. And then in children and youth, we spent £223, and that was for things like activity packs and resources that we provide for any children and young people we engaged with, for stuff like Church in the Park, and also for Sunday mornings. So our total expenditure for the year was £19,171. For all the output that we have as a church, that is a phenomenal thing that we can do it on this tight a budget. And so just to summarize, our income was £21,632. Excellent. We spent £19,171. In reserve, we have £5,000, and so our funds available at the end of the financial year were £11,186. So 3 things to comment on in response to that. Firstly, a huge thank you. Our giving as a church family over the last financial year has grown. It has grown on the previous year. And again, that's quite remarkable during the pandemic, for people who've gone through so many financial hardships. But people have continued to show incredible generosity for that. So thank you so much. And you'll notice that this giving is from within our church. So as I said, our first year we were supported externally by that one-off gift, but we're standing on our own 2 feet now, and that's really remarkable for a church that is so young and all that we do. So thank you. Secondly, our bank balance is looking healthy, and there are some really pressing one-off costs that some of this can be put towards. For example, our PA setup is incredibly stretched. Anyone who's been on team setting this up and running the desk will know that, and it's a real juggle to have enough channels for our worship team and the different things we have plugged in. So we're going to need to purchase some really vital worship equipment so that we don't bottleneck as a team as we continue to grow and expand our worship team and our logistics. So we're so blessed to have the funds to be able to do that. Then as we continue to grow and develop as a church, our monthly ongoing financial need is continuing to grow. So to name a few areas, 3 in particular, where we have a need for the year ahead. First is venue. So last year we had a much smaller venue costs because we were online for the majority of the year. And also not only that, but this year we are increasing our frequency of gatherings, and we're expecting to be meeting, God willing, for the entire year without any further lockdown. So we're expecting a big increase in venue costs. Also, this has been such a gift to us, this venue, but we're so aware that there are limitations to this venue, and we're continuing to actively look at other options of where we can meet. You guys all right? Yeah. All right, that's fine. Secondly, children and youth. So we want to be able to provide space for any children or youth that join us on a Sunday morning, and have a space where they can have fun and grow in their relationship with Jesus. And we're continuing to look at how best we can serve children and youth who join us. And there is a separate room here at the Sports Centre, but it's not available at the moment. So we'd really appreciate your prayers that if that is the right room, that we can get access to that room. So as we do start to gather more children and young people, they can move out from the back of the hall and have their own space to make as much noise as they want, have fun, learn to love and to follow Jesus. We'd also love to be able to provide some kind of midweek activity for children and young people. We know that so many of these groups for children have been cancelled or have really reduced numbers, or the groups that are running have quite a high cost to them week by week. So we would love to be able to have a space midweek where we can provide room for families, children, young people to come and engage. And people of other age groups as well would love to be able to reach out in that way. So a second area of need is specifically children and youth, and how that will work with different spaces, potentially in a different room or a different venue midweek. And then thirdly, our third need financially for the upcoming year is staffing. So between us, Abby and I are only employed 2.5 days a week. That's between us. To run the church. And the truth is that as our church continues to grow and do more things, we're going to be increasingly stretched, which is a good thing because we're going to have to expand our staff team. We'd love to eventually be able to bring on additional staff with new responsibilities so that we can do more things in the community. So as we seek to serve our community and love the community around us and our church family, our staffing need is going to continue to grow. So all of this means, in summary, that we are needing an increase in our regular giving for the year ahead. We've received some incredibly generous one-off gifts, which we've so appreciated. However, looking to the year ahead, regular giving is really, really helpful because it helps us commit to much more, because we can't rely on one-off gifts from last year coming in again this year. Whereas regular giving, which people commit to, we can budget that and we can step out a bit more with that. So for us to do what God is asking us to do, we are looking at an increase in £500 in our regular giving each month with Gift Aid. This might seem like a lot, but we serve a God where he guides, he provides as well. And the truth is, I've really struggled whether to bring that specific need to the church this morning. There's been news this week of rise in gas and electricity prices, all sorts of household bills. People are experiencing financial pressure. But we want to share that need with you as a church. And what we're asking is that you go away, you look at your finances, and you pray about how you can step in to fill that need. And the most important thing is God loves a joyful giver. So there's the need, the £500 increase per month. But let's bring it before the Lord and seek him and then respond. So, finally, part 2 or part 3, looking ahead, 2022. I appreciate this is a long slog. Are we all still alive? Doing well? Does anyone need to get up and jog on the spot or turn around or anything? Brilliant. So as Abby and I have taken time to look to the year ahead, to pray and ask God what he has for us, there's been a few key things. So, for our church family looking ahead to 2022, firstly, reconnecting with God and each other and the surrounding community. It's really important. This is a time to reconnect. The pandemic for many has isolated so many people, and people have felt a disconnection. Some have found it really easy to stay connected to others during the pandemic, but for others it has been an isolating time. There's been less social contact, perhaps not going out to work or classes or groups that you would have normally been part of, and with so much moving online, it's been a struggle for so many. For some, our relationship with God has been fueled during the pandemic, and others have struggled without more regular in-person contact with those around us. So for the year ahead, it's one for us to reconnect with God and receive his love afresh, or even for the first time, to join in with Jesus' mission, to be devoted to Jesus, his mission, and each other, to reconnect. And secondly, it's a time for us as a church family to step out in faith. Over the last month, we've been going through Acts chapter 4, which I've found so insightful, where Peter and John were on their way to the temple for a routine prayer meeting when a man reached out for help. They couldn't give him the money, but they gave him what they had instead. They said, "In the name of Jesus, be healed." And he was able to stand and walk and praise God. It was an absolute miracle. They gave him Jesus. They reached out and he was healed. They took a risk. They stepped out in faith. They allowed their routine to be interrupted. Our rhythm as a church going into 2022 is now that we're meeting the first 3 Sundays of the month here. And then you might be wondering what the plan is for the last Sunday of the month. Well, I'm really excited to share with you some plans for what we're going to be doing on the last Sunday of each month. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be reconnecting and stepping out in faith through starting what we're calling a Neighborhood Sunday. So what is Neighborhood Sunday? So a Neighborhood Sunday is an opportunity for us to interrupt our routines, to intentionally reach out to those around us in relational and practical ways. So much like Peter and John allowed their routine of heading to that prayer meeting to be interrupted as they reached out to someone, we want to intentionally reach out to those around us, to reconnect in our networks and neighborhoods and step out in faith together. So what could this look like? It might look like small acts of kindness. Last year, our neighbour had 4 dogs, would you believe it, pass away, one after the other in a short space of time. And they were absolutely heartbroken. And we ordered a fresh fruit and veg box to be delivered to them. And we got that delivered to them, and they were so blown away by that small act of kindness. And over time, we've been able to have small conversations with them about church and Jesus and to share with them. That's really made an impact. So it might look like small acts of kindness like that. It might look like doing something fun and practical on that last Sunday of the month. Something fun and practical on your street or in your local area. We were speaking to one couple about how they were looking to do a litter pick on their street. What a fantastic idea to go out on that Sunday and do a quick litter pick. Maybe invite some of your neighbours out to do a litter pick as well. That might be something that different people can do, different of us can do. We might be able to do it together. Don't feel like you can do it alone. You could reach out to someone else in church who might live in your area. Or maybe they won't live in your area, but you want someone to come and do it with you. So it might look like something practical like that. You'll be aware, I've mentioned it before, and you might be aware already that Trevor and Denise have done each year Christmas carols with a brass band, which has gone down so well for their street, where they plonk a brass band on their porch and give out hot chocolates and just create that fun and friendly atmosphere for their neighbours. You might want to do something like that one Sunday. Something a bit bigger, something that where you can reach out to your friends, your network, your neighborhood. You might want to do something creative. You might want to do something small, reaching out to a friend, sending a message, going out for a walk with someone in church. The whole heart of this is that we take time on that last Sunday of the month to interrupt our routine and to reach out to our networks and our neighborhoods in faith, sharing the love of Jesus in these practical ways. And so our very first Neighborhood Sunday is going to be this month on the 27th of February. So I'd encourage you to start having a wee think about what you might want to do on that last Sunday. And we'll be journeying about this over the next few weeks and months as we start to do these Neighborhood Sundays. And the goal, the whole point of this, is that people see Jesus and have their lives changed by Jesus in everything that we're going to do in the year ahead. As we regather in this venue, as we worship, as we do connect groups, as we reach out, as we start Neighborhood Sundays, that people continue to meet with Jesus in life-changing ways.